In a world where external structures appear immovable, something subtle yet profound is shifting within hearts, within minds, within nations, not through war, not through political pressure, but through awareness, through consciousness. There are places on this earth where it is dangerous to change your beliefs, dangerous to question the foundations you were raised upon, and yet people are doing just that, not to rebel, but to realign. They are listening to something deeper than culture. They are awakening to something that transcends tradition. And in this awakening, many are choosing Christianity in some of the most unexpected and often forbidden corners of the Islamic world. This isn't about numbers. It isn't about converting from one belief system to another, like changing a label. It is about transformation, internal, spiritual, permanent. In countries like Iran, Afghanistan, Algeria, Turkey, Somalia, and others, men and women, young and old, are quietly, courageously shifting their focus. They're redirecting their awareness away from fear, away from conditioning, away from blind inheritance, and towards something new, something that speaks to the inner stillness, something they often can't explain but can no longer deny. True change, real spiritual growth does not begin with external force. It begins with intention. It begins with consciousness. You do not transform your life by simply rejecting old ideas. You transform when you redirect your energy, when you focus your awareness toward that which uplifts, liberates, and aligns with the deepest truth of your being. Ask yourself, why would someone in a country where conversion is illegal risk their safety to follow a carpenter from Nazareth? Why would someone abandon a system they were taught to defend with their life? Because at the core of their soul, they are not reacting, they are responding not to fear, but to truth, not to emotion, but to encounter, to peace, to love, to something that cannot be taught but must be experienced. It takes an extraordinary amount of focus to do that, to separate your identity from your upbringing, to stand alone in a world where standing alone could cost you everything. These people are not distracted. They are decisive. Their awareness has shifted. Their energy is no longer trapped in obligation. It is now directed purpose. And what you direct your energy toward, you give life to. In these 10 countries, we are witnessing not mass hysteria, but personal resurrection in the hidden places of Kabul and Tehran, in the back alleys of Khartoum and Riyadh, in the small villages of North Africa and Southeast Asia. People are experiencing transformation because they are no longer choosing what is safe. They are choosing what is true. What they are doing is not new. It is what all conscious beings eventually must do: detach, reflect, realign, and choose. Now the question turns to you. You who live in freedom, are you free inside? You who speak of faith, have you experienced transformation? You who are surrounded by opportunity, are you focused on truth or distracted by noise? Don't wait for persecution to purify your purpose. Don't wait for pressure to force your clarity. Begin now, train your mind, discipline your awareness, align your energy, stop wasting it on drama, on distractions, on doubt. Focus it, direct it, channel it toward the divine, because in the end, transformation is not geographic, it is not political, it is not even religious, it is personal, and it is possible only when you are conscious. People in the world's most dangerous nations are choosing to live from their inner truth. What's stopping you? Make the choice, not with emotion, not with impulse, but with awareness, with focus, with unwavering clarity, because the most powerful conversions don't happen in churches or temples, they happen in minds. And they happen when we finally say, I will no longer follow what I inherited. I will follow what I now know is true. Transformation does not begin with rebellion. It begins with conscious awareness. When a person rises against something purely out of resistance, they are still being controlled by what they resist. But when a person awakens from within, without anger, without retaliation, without ego, they become truly free. Rebellion is loud. Awareness is silent, and yet awareness is the only thing powerful enough to produce lasting interchange. Across the world, especially in places where faith is tightly bound to law, culture, and family identity, we are witnessing something profound: individuals choosing a different path, not in outrage, not in chaos, but in clarity. Men and women in Islamic nations are not converting to Christianity because they want to break rules. They are converting because they have encountered something deeper than rules, something their inner being can no longer live without. They are not reacting, they are realizing. This is the difference between rebellion and transformation. Rebellion is often a reaction to pain, control, or injustice. It's an external act meant to challenge power. But transformation is rooted in something far more subtle and far more powerful, a change in consciousness. It is when a person begins to ask different questions, listen more intently, and observe the patterns of their thoughts and beliefs without attachment. It is when they step back, not to destroy, but to discern, not to oppose, but to understand. When someone begins to live in conscious awareness, their entire world changes, not because the world changes, but because perspective does. They begin to notice the gap between what they've been taught and what they've experienced. They begin to see the difference between inherited truth and discovered truth. And in that gap, they find space to breathe, space to reflect, space to ask the questions that others are afraid to ask. In many Islamic countries, religion is not just faith, it is identity, culture, survival. To question it is to question everything. And yet, in the hidden corners of that fear, people are starting to awaken. Not in revolt, but in revelation. They are discovering that faith is not something that can be forced or memorized. It must be encountered. It must come alive inside. And for many, this encounter is leading them to the teachings of Christ, not because someone argued them into it, but because something within them recognized truth when they heard it. This is not a rejection of the old. It is the discovery of something deeper. And discovery is always the fruit of focused awareness. When the mind is no longer distracted by fear or guilt or obligation, it begins to see clearly. It begins to listen. It begins to separate what it truly believes from what it was trained to repeat. And when that clarity comes, a decision is made not out of defiance, but out of alignment. Conscious awareness is the foundation of spiritual maturity. You cannot change what you are unaware of. You cannot grow if you are stuck in blind repetition. You must wake up. You must see. You must choose not once, but every moment. And that is what makes these conversions so powerful. They're not the result of an emotional outburst or a temporary doubt. They're the outcome of long, quiet, difficult inner work. They are the fruit of reflection, silence, and courage. When you live in a place where faith is dictated, to choose differently is not rebellion. It is rebirth. It is the moment when a person says, I will not follow what I do not believe. I will not pretend to hold convictions I no longer feel. I will not live a borrowed identity. I will live from my own awareness, my own truth, my own encounter. This level of transformation requires stillness. It requires letting go of fear, requires detaching from outcomes, because when the mind is trained to be still, the soul begins to speak. And when the soul speaks, the person begins to change, not because they are trying to escape something, but because they are finally aligning with something greater. So when you see people leaving everything behind, not for comfort, but for conviction, do not mistake it for rebellion. It is something far more sacred. It is the evolution of the soul. It is the power of conscious awareness reshaping a life from the inside out. And it reminds us all that true transformation doesn't come when you fight the world. It comes when you finally see yourself clearly. Focus is not something you're born with. It is something you build moment by moment, choice by choice. And the quality of your focus determines the quality of your life, especially your spiritual freedom. In a world overflowing with distractions, confusion, and noise, those who find freedom are not the ones with perfect conditions, but the ones who have trained their minds to remain centered, regardless of those conditions. Spiritual freedom isn't about escaping hardship. It's not about living in a monastery or retreating from the world. It's about how you navigate the world. It's about the choices you make in silence, the thoughts you allow to settle in your mind, and the direction in which you guide your energy. If your focus is scattered, pulled by every external demand, every fear, every passing opinion, you will feel like a prisoner even in the most peaceful environment. But if your focus is refined and intentional, you can find freedom even in the most restricted place on earth. There are people right now in countries where their faith is forbidden, where expressing their beliefs can cost them their families, their jobs, even their lives. And yet, many of them are more spiritually free than those who live in lands where everything is permitted. Why? Because their minds are focused, their hearts are aligned, their awareness is not dependent on outer approval. Their clarity does not need consensus. They have directed their focus inward and upward, and in doing so, they have broken chains that even governments cannot touch. The world wants your attention. It fights for it every second. But the secret is this: your attention is your power. What you focus on, you feed. What you ignore, you starve. The thoughts you choose to dwell on shape your emotions, your actions, and your destiny. And when it comes to your spiritual life, focus is everything. It is what determines whether your faith is something you inherited or something you've chosen. It is what separates surface level belief from soul level conviction. Focus requires training. You cannot wait for your circumstances to quiet down before you develop it. You must begin now, wherever you are, with whatever you have. Train your mind to return to what matters. Refuse to give your energy to what drains you. Choose your thoughts as carefully as you choose your words. Direct your awareness to what uplifts, expands, and grounds you. That is where freedom begins, not in escape, but in discipline. Many people lie bound not by external rules, but by internal chaos. Their minds jump from one distraction to the next. Their souls are anxious, restless, and unsure. They claim to seek truth, but they have no clarity. They have no stillness. And without stillness, there can be no vision. Without vision, there can be no path. Without a path, there can be no freedom. Focus carves that path. It gives shape to the unseen. It brings order to the spiritual life. It allows you to hear what is always speaking beneath the noise. In some of the world's most restricted regions, people are coming to profound spiritual conclusions, not because they have more knowledge, but because they have more focus. Their suffering has stripped them of superficial distractions. Their environment has made clarity a necessity. When the cost of belief is high, you either drift into numbness or you awaken into intention. And many are awakening. They are not driven by guilt or tradition. They are led by a steady, focused awareness that will not be shaken. That kind of focus can be cultivated anywhere. You don't need to live in crisis to develop it. You need presence. You need the willingness to sit with discomfort and not run. To notice where your energy is going and bring it back again and again. You need to stop feeding your distractions and start feeding your purpose. You need to stop waiting for a sign and start becoming one. Freedom isn't about removing all limitations. It's about mastering your response to them. It's about choosing every day to direct your focus where it matters most, toward growth, toward truth, toward the divine. Focus isn't just a mental skill, it's a spiritual discipline. And it is the doorway through which freedom walks in. Because when your mind is focused, nothing outside of you can control what happens within you. And that is where real freedom lies. Everything you energize in your life is something you've given permission to grow. Not consciously, perhaps, but through your repeated attention, your belief, your mental engagement. Energy follows belief. It flows to where you direct your inner narrative. If you believe something is worthy of your thought, your time, your emotion, it receives your energy, and by receiving it, it multiplies. Whether it's fear or faith, doubt or purpose, confusion or clarity, whatever you continue to feed through belief becomes your reality. Many people live unaware of this principle. They think circumstances grow by themselves. They believe situations are external forces shaping them, not realizing their inner attention is the source of power. A seed cannot grow without water. Likewise, a thought cannot dominate your life unless you keep watering it with belief. You may not want the fear, but if you keep feeding it by revisiting worst-case scenarios, you're choosing to empower it. You may want peace, but if your belief is rooted in anxiety, peace cannot take root because your energy is directed elsewhere. The mind is not neutral. It is a living field, and everything planted there will either wither or thrive depending on what you energize with your belief. Most people don't fail because they lack strength or opportunity. They fail because they energize the wrong narrative. They believe in limitation, and so energy flows into stagnation. They believe in rejection, and so energy flows into isolation. They believe in their unworthiness, and so energy flows into fear and hiding. But once belief shifts, everything shifts. When you believe you are meant to grow, to stretch, to live in truth and alignment, your energy follows that. And when your energy aligns with something powerful, that thing grows. In spiritually oppressed environments, this principle is even more evident. When someone lives under constant pressure to conform, their beliefs determine what lives within them. If they internalize fear and feed it, they shrink. But if they believe truth is worth pursuing, even in secret, their energy fuels a quiet transformation. And from that hidden transformation, something sacred begins to grow. It doesn't matter how much external control is applied. When belief becomes clear and energy is focused, change is inevitable. You are not the result of your environment. You are the result of what you choose to give life to. Many people go through life unconsciously energizing what holds them back. They replay insults, failures, and regrets. They fixate on judgment, limitations, and what ifs. And by doing so, they are not just remembering, they are recreating, they are giving breath to what should have been buried. And then they wonder why peace doesn't grow, why joy feels distant, why spiritual confidence never takes root. It all comes back to belief. What do you truly believe is possible for your life? Not what you say, but what you embody, what you energize, what you hold in your awareness when no one is watching. That's where your energy goes. That's where your life grows. If you want to grow spiritually, you cannot afford to energize distraction. You cannot afford to believe in powerlessness. You must protect your focus and choose where your energy flows. You must redirect your belief again and again toward alignment, purpose, and truth. because belief is not a one-time decision. It is a continuous direction, a steady pointing of your inner compass toward the life you are choosing to create. Energy is sacred. It is your currency. You spend it every day, whether you realize it or not. And belief is the system that tells your energy where to go. If you believe your life has purpose, your energy flows toward intention. If you believe change is possible, your energy supports growth. If you believe you are connected to something greater, your energy strengthens your spirit. But if your belief is soaked in negativity, in helplessness, in fear, then your energy only feeds what breaks you. You cannot control every thought, but you can choose which ones you energize. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can choose what belief you bring into it. Every moment is an invitation to realign your energy with what you desire to grow. Every belief you reinforce is a seed watered. And eventually, you will sit in the garden of whatever you chose to cultivate. So choose wisely. Direct your belief with intention. Let your energy become the breath that gives life to faith, not fear, to courage, not comfort, to growth, not guilt. Because your beliefs shape your focus shapes your energy, and your energy shapes your life. What you give life to grows. The environment you're born into may shape your early thinking, but it does not have the final say in who you become. Circumstances are influential, yes. They provide the backdrop, the texture, the challenges, but they are not your definition. What defines you, what truly defines the direction and quality of your life are the choices you make, especially in response to that environment. You cannot always control what surrounds you, but you can always choose how you respond to it, how you think through it, and what you allow to grow within you because of it. People often surrender too quickly to their circumstances. They believe that being born in a place with limited freedom, limited opportunity, or limited resources means they are fated to stay stuck. But nothing could be further from the truth. The human spirit does not require ideal conditions to flourish. It requires only the will to rise, the decision to act, to reflect, to align. In some of the most spiritually restricted countries in the world, people are making some of the most profound spiritual choices. They are not waiting for freedom to be handed to them from the outside. They are claiming it from within, quietly, deliberately, powerfully. You are not the product of your environment. You are the product of your decisions. Every day, you are given the opportunity to choose who you are becoming. You can choose to react or to reflect, to conform or to create, to follow what is familiar or to step into what is true. The environment can challenge your path, but it cannot prevent your evolution unless you give it that power. When you shift from blaming your surroundings to owning your responsibility, everything begins to change. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming a steward of your destiny. Choice is the great equalizer. It is what allows a person born in hardship to rise in greatness, and it is what causes another born in privilege to remain stagnant. It is not about what is around you. It is about what is within you, your mindset, your beliefs, your willingness to grow. If you tell yourself that the world owes you a better environment before you can become your best self, you'll remain waiting forever. But if you choose to act in alignment with your deepest truth, regardless of external noise, you begin to build a life that is not reactive, but intentional. Some people live in free countries, but remain bound in their minds. Others live under oppressive regimes, but walk in inner peace. The difference is not the law. It is the choice. The internal decision to believe in something higher, to move toward something greater, even when no one is watching, even when everything outside says no. This is the power of conscious living. It is the awareness that your life is built from the inside out, not the outside in. The more you take ownership of your choices, the less you will be controlled by your environment. You begin to understand that you are the gatekeeper of your mind, the architect of your thoughts, the director of your energy. You can choose what conversations to engage in, what beliefs to accept, what thoughts to repeat, and what emotions to dwell in. These small, quiet choices create momentum. And over time, that momentum reshapes your reality. There is great strength in choosing well in hard places. When you make the right choice in the wrong environment, you declare that your spirit is greater than your surroundings. And every time you do this, you grow stronger, you expand, you evolve. This is not the easy path, but it is the path of freedom, the path of power, the path of lasting transformation. Do not wait for life to change around you before you choose to change within you. Do not wait for perfect conditions to start making powerful decisions. Your environment may test you, limit you, even push against you, but it cannot determine you. Only you can do that, and the tool you use to do it is choice. Conscious, clear, unwavering choice. Every act of focus, every moment of awareness, every redirection of your energy toward growth, these are the decisions that rewrite your story. Not the noise outside, but the intention within. So don't just look at where you are, look at what you're choosing, because in the end, your life is not made by your location. It is made by your decisions. The place may be hard, the people may be rigid, the system may be heavy, but your choice is your own. And that is your power.